You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us on this Halloween edition of the NXT Report here at AngryMarks.com. I'm Rohan Unruh. Follow me on Twitter at Rohan Unruh. There's a lot to get into in this episode, so let's get right into it. NXT number 475. It starts off with a video recap, basically just outlining the entire Aleister Black attack storyline, starting from when he was attacked in the parking lot months ago to the revelation that Johnny Gargano was the attacker that we found out last week. For the second week in a row, Vic is announcing with Percy and Nigel, saying that Mauro Ranallo will be back at TakeOver at the end of November. So we get a rundown of the episode with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish versus the War Raiders, along with the in-ring television debut of Matt Riddle. Our opening match is Nikki Cross versus Mercedes Martinez, fresh off her performance at the Mae Young Classic. If you didn't watch any of the Mae Young Classic this year, I urge you to go back and watch. There were some awesome matches, especially the match between Mercedes Martinez and Meiko Satomura. I believe that was the quarterfinal match. So Nikki takes her down with an armbar. She runs Mercedes' head into the mat. Mercedes turns a front facelock into an overhead Northern Lights suplex, and it looked like Nikki landed right on her head. Nikki climbs on Mercedes' back, attempting a sleeper, but gets run into the corner. Mercedes slaps on a guillotine and lays in some ground and pound. Nikki fires back with some forearms and clotheslines. There's an avalanche in the corner into a bulldog, but Nikki doesn't go for the cover. Nikki hits a high cross off the top rope for two. At this point, Nikki is bleeding. I'm not sure if it's coming from the cheek or if she has a busted nose. Martinez comes back with a spine buster. Martinez hits two backdrop drivers and a release German, so Nikki at this point is kind of out on her feet. Martinez hits a running knee to the face. Nikki comes back with a falling neckbreaker and a DDT. Nikki hits the Purge, which is the spinning fisherman buster, and she gets the win. I was kind of surprised at this. I thought they might give Mercedes a win unless they've got plans for Nikki down the road. Nikki rants and raves throughout the ring after the match, and she gets in Mercedes' face and says, "That was fun." So, nice win for Nikki, and Mercedes showed a ton of hard-hitting offense that looked great. She's not going to lose any momentum with this loss. Nikki is still in the ring, and Candice LeRae comes out all dressed in black lipstick, very goth-looking. She questions Nikki, and she's wondering what she's doing messing in people's lives. Candice is pissed, and Nikki is just laughing at her. Nikki tries to leave. She goes up the ramp, and as she's about to leave the ringside area, Aleister Black comes out and stares down Nikki. He then looks at Candice in the ring. The crowd is chanting, "Get her, get her." So Black gets in the ring. Candice just walks right up to him to stare him down. Black asks Candice where Johnny is. She says she doesn't know, and he says that the future of Johnny Gargano in NXT is gone. We get a recap of the Street Profits versus the Mighty from last week. They're going to renew their feud next. We get a video promo for WrestleMania, April 7th, 2019, and tickets go on sale November 16th. So get your tickets early. Street Profits versus the Mighty. Profits still haven't gotten their cups and chains back. It's been over a month. Have they not had any chance to reclaim their property? So Nigel starts going off about how, they need their cup and they need their chains. That's part of who they are. And Percy, with a very rare, good talking point, says that positioning in the crowded tag team division is far more important than cups and chains, with teams like the Forgotten Sons and Larkin and Birch climbing the ladder. Profits are very serious. They're not dancing around. They're all business, as one would be if you get a chance to reclaim your black plastic solo cup. Nigel says they don't have their sippy cups full of screech juice. Screech juice. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a British thing. Dawkins and Thorns start out. Dawkins starts out fast, but the Mighty get the heat quickly. Dawkins reverses a whip into a flapjack, tags to Montez Ford. Profits send both Mighty outside, and Ford does his awesome, awesome, awesome looking Undertaker dive. That is such a sweet looking move, and he is so athletic, and he just glides over that top ring rope. Back in the ring, Nick Miller hits a spine buster on Ford, so we got our second spine buster in a row. We have Thorn hitting a nice looking Falcon Arrow for a near fall. Ford dives over Thorn to make the hot tag. Dawkins starts laying out both Mighty. There's a bulldog on Miller, spinning slam to Thorn. Ford gets caught on the top rope, and then Thorn jumps on Miller's shoulders as if Miller was about to powerbomb him. And they go to the corner, and Thorn superplexes Ford, combining with the force of a powerbomb. So I guess that's what it was supposed to look like. It took him a while to get that move, and Thorn looked like he actually took the worst of it from the powerbomb spot. So Dawkins broke up that near fall, even though Ford was still covered for a 3. We get another spine buster by Dawkins on Miller. Enough spine busters already. Agents, get your matches in order. Thorn knocks Dawkins down out of the ring. Thorn attempts an outside to inside superplex of Ford, and Ford counters it with a kick, and then in one swift motion, he scales to the top rope and hits this insane-looking frog splash for the win. They celebrate by retrieving their chains and their black solo cup. This was a fun match, and it once again highlighted Montez Ford as the star of this crew, and the Mighty are just 2 guys. We get Kathy interviewing Commissioner Regal, and Regal just casually announces that, oh, by the way, at TakeOver War Games, we'll have Tommaso Ciampa defend the title against Velveteen Dream. Aleister Black jumps into the frame, and he goes face-to-face with Regal, asking him where Gargano is. Regal tells him that, I told Johnny to stay home this week. But don't worry, at TakeOver, you'll get your pound of flesh, as it's going to be Aleister Black taking on Johnny Gargano one-on-one, and Aleister says that Johnny's career will fade to black, because they always have to get in their catchphrase and their branding. They replayed the same hype video of Matt Riddle bouncing around the ring from last week. We got Lars Sullivan being shown actually outside, and he's throwing a giant temper tantrum at the news that he was not named the number 1 contender, and he's going to rip Velveteen Dream apart. He then proceeds to destroy a bunch of plastic Rubbermaid bins and some bottled water. We have Luke Menzies taking on the debuting Matt Riddle. Riddle's music is absolutely wretched. It's terrible. It's this generic hip-hop dance track with bro playing over a loop. I can certainly see the NXT crowd falling in love with him and falling in love with this song. It's not for me. I think it's ridiculous. Although he does come to the ring in flip-flops, so he is officially cooler than me. So Riddle immediately tries a double leg. Menzies tries to overpower him with Greco-Roman knuckle lock. Riddle transitions from a monkey flip straight into an armbar attempt. That was a cool looking spot. Riddle hits some high chest kicks in the corner. Menzies comes back with a double capture overhead belly-to-belly suplex for a 2. Riddle hits a senton and a penalty kick. There's some elbows to the side of Menzies' head, and the bro mission for the tap out. Nigel explains that the bro mission is a submission hold that combines MMA's Twister and Sports Entertainment's abdominal stretch. That is an actual sentence that a professional said on the air. Luke Menzies is a big, impressive guy, and he's got some potential, but he needs to change his last name immediately. We get a video recap of Shayna Baszler defeating Kairi Sane at Evolution. Shayna's doing an interview backstage with Kathy Kelly, and Kairi is screaming at her while dramatically being helped to the back for medical attention by either an usher or a security geek or someone. And he says, no, not now, Kairi. Now's not your time. I'm guessing this feud is not over yet. We get a promo for WWE 2K19. The announcement next week, Velveteen Dream and Lars Sullivan go one-on-one. I don't know if Dream's number 1 contendership is on the line or this is just a one-off. Another match, tag team action. Only Larkin and Danny Birch taking on Raul Mendoza and Humberto Carrillo. Anyways, they're 2 high-flying Latin fellows. They're short, but they get a whole entrance music, and they get a Titantron. Mendoza gets the early advantage with their speed. Birch turns it around, and Larkin and Birch have rapid tags and working over the arm. Mendoza and Carrillo send Larkin and Birch to the outside, and they both hit stereo dives on opposite sides of the ring. Carrillo sets up Larkin for a moonsault. His approach looks awesome, but in midair, Larkin gets the feet up and nearly decapitates Carrillo. Mendoza gets a hot tag and goes wild with enziguris and a missile dropkick to both Birch and Larkin. Birch counters the charge with a hip toss into the buckle. Larkin then cuts off Carrillo. Birch and Larkin hit their elevated DDT for the win. That Mendoza, he's a really good bumper, and I like him. I want to see him maybe on 205 Live against, guys his own size. But that finisher that Birch and Larkin do, that elevated DDT, that looks dangerous. And Mendoza just got spiked on the very top of his head. If it were me booking, I would put Birch and Larkin in a high-profile match against the Street Profits at TakeOver for the #1 contendership for the tag titles, but that's just me. Our advertised main event was going to be Adam Cole and Bobby Fish taking on War Raiders. So backstage interview with Undisputed Era, Adam Cole starts to talk about how great it is for Bobby Fish to finally be back, and the Undisputed Era is at 100%. But from out of nowhere, from behind the curtain, you see someone grab Adam Cole, and he pulls him backwards, and he vanishes into the ether. Well, it's the War Raiders. They come charging right out. They're taking the fight to Undisputed Era. The fight spills to the outside. There's patio tables and chairs and people having drinks. So War Raiders and Undisputed Era are throwing each other into tables. The Raiders grab Adam Cole and they give him the double Kevin Nash Rey Mysterio lawn dart spot into the production truck. So Roderick Strong finally gets the advantage with a garbage can shot, and the War Raiders are getting beat up. Era gets the advantage when Ricochet runs out, and he dives on all 4 members of the Undisputed Era. He takes the fight to them along with the Raiders. That fight spills into the arena. Ray Rowe hip tosses Roderick Strong, and when I say that, he launched this guy from probably what looks like the third row of seats over the barricade and splat onto the floor. The dive that Roderick gave was absolutely fantastic. Bobby Fish nails Hansen in the left knee with a chair. War Raiders and Ricochet getting beat down when Pete Dunne's music hits and this crowd goes nuts. Dunne wears out Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly with a chair. Babyfaces take over the ring. Undisputed Era is they're on their retreat when Commissioner Regal comes out and announces that if you men are so certain on destroying each other, you'll do it at TakeOver in War Games. And the episode ends. So that is going to be a fantastic match. I am glad that they learned their lesson from last year about not having 3 teams of 3. Hopefully they will further learn from last year and actually put a top on the double cage like War Games is supposed to have. So, that was a lot to take in this episode. So, I am spent. That's your NXT report. Follow me on Twitter at RohanUnra. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on iTunes and at AngryMarks.com. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you again next week.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.